have to know what is happening. That's a huge step in just knowing what's happening in your head, in your body, in your mind. Like, what is
your life is your book, and this is my favorite chapter. Ladies and gentlemen, all things relationships abroad. Welcome back to All Things Relationships Abroad. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Nikita Kamane, your host. So today we are going to be talking about something that I feel is very important, and we hardly speak about it: the relationship with yourself. How else can you go out there and be a good friend if you don't know how to treat yourself better? How can you be a good lover or a sister or a brother? Please welcome Jenny. No, you look pretty. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me here today. I'm very excited to join in this conversation. I think what you think about yourself is so important in moving forward with relationships in general.
That's true. It's very true. Okay, everyone. So I'm going to let Jenny introduce herself.
Oh, geez. I'm not sure how to start. My name is Jenny. I'm from the United States. I'm from Southern California, and I moved here to China about 3 years ago.
Okay. As you know, everyone, one thing that I love and I feel is very important for this show is a background. What was the reason that you came to China?
So why I came to China is, I like to put it as, I didn't choose China, China chose me.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
So I would say my main goal was to get out of the United States. I really wanted to travel. I grew up watching National Geographic, and I was so inspired by all the things I saw, everything from studying like the ecosystems and different parts of the world and seeing how other people live in the world. So then from that, I studied anthropology, and that is all about people and cultures and just humans, you know, just studying humans. And I guess my experience in the US, I thought, man, nobody travels. Everything is like so like one way. I want to see another way of living. I want to see how people do things so differently. So after graduating university, my main goal was to leave the United States just to see another way of life.
Yeah.
And so I was looking for jobs. I put my resume up on a job search site, and I got contacted by a recruiter that was like, hey, come teach English in China. And so I was like, cool, I could leave, I could travel, and I could get paid. I'm in. So
that's everything.
Yes.
Basically.
Yes. So check. And my mindset at the time was always, I could do anything for a year. You know, I feel like I could tough it out anything for like a year. So even if I go and it's awful, then I could at least commit to so much, and I could always come back. So that was my mindset, because China's the first country I traveled to also before like visiting anything, and it's such a different culture. It's almost like the complete opposite.
Yes,
in a lot
definitely.
Of ways, so. Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. Okay, now let's talk about which year was this when you came to China, and I want to know about the reaction of your family. What did they think when you were like, hey guys, bye, I'm leaving, like I'm going to another continent, and you know, like, what was their thought and what did they say? How did they react?
I actually thought it would be a lot more dramatic, like, oh my gosh, you know, especially because the political tension between the two countries isn't great. So I thought it would be like, you can't go there, what are you doing? But I think because even in high school, I was talking about always like, I want to go to like New York to go to university. I want to go away.
Okay.
And so when I went to university, I went to Northern California, which is still like 12 hours by car. So still,
Okay.
California's a long state, so 12 hours driving is like where I went to university. And then I also moved to Michigan for a year, so it was just like I had a habit, I guess, of picking up everything and moving before I even visited a place, just moving there. So I think I had done that, and I had done it a couple of times. So what's, halfway around the world, like, so it was kind of like not surprising, I think, because I already had that, like, well, I'm gonna go here now, so that's just what it is. Which I thought it would be a lot more. Like, don't do that. I did have one friend though.
Yes.
A friend from that I knew since middle school. Her parents were like, "Are you gonna be sold as a sex slave? Are you sure?"
Oh my God!
I was like, I don't think so. I really don't think that's gonna happen. Yeah. I had also had in university had a professor that her whole career was built off of studying China. So I sent her like the contract and was like, "Is this legit? Am I gonna? Like, is it real?"
Yes,
You know, because I did have a little bit of like.
Of course, I wanted to ask, like, when they said that, like, are you not gonna be sold as a slave or anything like that, like a sex slave? Did you not feel like scared? Yeah, like, no, maybe I shouldn't do this.
You know, I actually didn't really feel that. I think I was more. Although China's very like safe generally, especially in like the big cities and all that, I think I was a lot more naive about my personal safety before traveling. Now that even coming here, I do feel I'd be more skeptical about going anywhere. But I was very like, you know, I will go anywhere as a woman, a single woman. I could go to any country.
Yes,
like no worries. Now I don't feel that. I do feel I would be more comfortable with a group of people or with like a man. Just you just never know, you know.
You never know. Yeah. It's actually getting worse than better. Like the world is getting worse than better. So
yeah. So it's that's how I feel now. But coming to China, I was just like,
I'm going for it.
Yeah, I'll just go for it. A year. What's a year? Do it. No, if not, worst thing, I could just come back. I'll figure it out.
That's very funny, you know, because a lot of people who are in China, they always say, "I'm just going there for a year." But turns out, I mean, you're on your what year now?
Just over 3 years, so going for 4.
China just consumes people. Like, come stay.
Yeah. It does. It has. You know, after my first year, though, I had this feeling of like, I need to stay here longer for this. Like, I want my experience here. I want to gain something from it. I want to walk away
with
from
something.
China. Yeah, with something.
Wow.
With some sort of.
That is amazing.
Yeah. So if you're not feeling it, I don't think the answer is to leave, to rush out, to go back home to whatever you were dealing with back there. I think it's you haven't found what you need to learn yet. So
you mean in that way, like you want to leave with something in terms of maybe money or like okay, that's the bag.
Well, that's one option, right? So it's because there's a lot of different elements in your life that'll make you happy.
Yes,
right. So money's one aspect. It's not our favorite. It is real though. Like, if
come on, people, broke, we need money. We do.
It's a cruel thing about existing is that it costs money to exist. So it is an element we have to deal with. So can you financially gain from this? And you know, if so, then that's good. Spiritually, individually as a person, there's all kinds of like, did you get a relationship out of this? Yeah. There's a lot of different areas that you can get from anything. You know? So for China, of course, money is very easy as an English teacher out here. So that's the obvious target. But I think also here, you do really find, is the money worth it?
It's true.
Yeah. At some point, you start to question. Yeah. Is this all worth money? Yeah.
Okay. So when you came to China, which city did you come to? And can you just tell us like a little summary about your workplace? Okay.
Yeah, so when I first came here, I came in December 2018.
Okay.
So when I first arrived. And I came right to Nanjing, so I've been
in
Nanjing.
It's a big city.
It is. And I worked for a training center. That's how I worked for a training center.
Okay, sorry, but with the training center part, I always ask my guests if they mention to just explain it a little bit just for someone who doesn't know what it is?
Sure. A training center is an after-school program that kids go to. So our training center had ages 3 to 12. So after school, they would go to the training center to learn English. So it was just very focused on just learning English. They go there about 2 to 3 times a week at mine. They would go 2 to 3 times a week and take English classes, extra English classes. Yeah. And parents are very willing to pay a ton of money into these training centers. So,
it's English.
Yeah.
They're learning English.
Yeah. So another thing, a detail, but I think it's really important in the experience is with the training centers, usually the schedule is off hours of the rest of the working world. So it's after school. So we had to be in the office at 2 and work until about 8 p.m. Yeah, and it would go from Tuesday till Sunday, so you could not take the weekends off. The weekends are very important because you work from 9 a.m. In some cases for us, it was till 7 p.m. But because the work culture out here and contracts, the way they work, they started to kind of like inch it back further. So some people would end up coming in at 8 a.m. and working till 8 p.m.
Oh, that's too much.
Yeah, those are long days, and you were not allowed to take those days off. So that's not atypical of training centers out here. So, different workflow.
I know.
Yeah.
Okay, and that was 2018, right? So
end of 2018. So all of 2019. I worked there for about a year and a half. And then after that?
And
then after that, I went to a kindergarten. And I worked there for about a year. I liked it better because you see the students every day. You have the same students, so that's really nice in terms of teaching. It feels a little bit more like legit teaching, and even though it's more or less the same thing, it just feels a little bit more legit because you have a class. And I worked at the kindergarten for about a year, and then I've moved on now to a primary school.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just like slowly.
So basically you have almost all the experiences of different kinds of, levels of teaching in China.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Going from like 3-year-old babies to like when you say, hello, what's your name? And they just repeat back to you, what's your name?
That's ours.
Yeah. You're like, cool, so we're starting at nothing.
Yes,
they usually
yes.
we're having Tarzan moments. Like, I'm Jenny. I'm Jenny.
I know. I think that's what I like. I really like that. Actually, I enjoy it a lot because I'm going to be like, okay, let's start. Foundation. Look, when I say this, you say this. I like that. I enjoy it. I don't know, somehow, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because they're so cute and they're sweet. They're not as cute when they're like 12 years old and you go, what's your name? What's your name? You're like, oh,
what?
You're not as cute when you do that.
No, at 12, no.
But there's
definitely not.
There's a lot of people like that, definitely. But I don't do with that. But yeah, because I'm at primary school. I teach first grade, so all these kids there still have not very much English.
Okay. Okay. So if I would ask you to compare your experiences from a training center to a kindergarten to primary school, which one do you prefer? Which one do you feel like, okay, this is what I like and this is the reason?
I would say I like the primary school I work at because of the management.
Yeah.
That's everything. I guess that's what I've learned in China. Also being naive, coming in thinking like the working conditions would be even similar.
Yeah.
Because this is far from my first job, so it's I had certain expectations, I guess, of what working in another country or just what a working environment should be like.
Yeah.
And I'm from California, which is like a fairly progressive workplace. Yeah, coming into the training center in the kindergarten, I found the management is just very different, and to me it was very difficult to deal with because it's something back home I would not consider it.
Do it.
Yeah, nobody would work there if that was
if it was there.
if it was a school back in the U.S., they would probably get fined and all kinds of things, you know. So the primary school is probably the closest in terms of management that I grew up used to.
Yeah.
So I like it just because it is everything. If you have a bad management, to me, like, it could make your work feel really unappreciated, and that's really difficult to go in every day having an attitude of like, I'm not enough, I'm not doing enough.
Of course.
You know, so it's different, just cultural differences, I guess. But yeah.
Okay. Now let's get to our topic today. Okay, the relationship with yourself. Yes. So if you could just try and explain to us, what do you see it as? I mean, how can you explain that to someone? Maybe, I mean, it's not everyone who's aware that, maybe aware, but not everyone takes it as important. Like, a relationship with myself is important, and this is how I know that I have a good relationship with myself. If you could just explain it.
Okay, that is a lot.
Just how you see it. Just how you see it. Nothing big.
So it's everything. If you can't have a relationship with yourself, you can't really have a relationship with anyone without either having with happiness, I guess.
Yes.
You know, you could end up in like an abusive relationship, or you could end up abusing someone without really meaning to, you know. So relationship with yourself is everything, and it has everything to do with how you were raised and how much awareness you could have around that. If you can't meet your own needs, then like, how are you going to meet needs of other people, and how are you going to, you know, just work through it? There's like I think a really harsh truth to being alive. Nobody is responsible for your happiness.
That's true.
Nobody.
That is very true.
Yeah. So it's on you. It's on you.
Yeah.
And that applies to then other people. You're not the cause of anyone's happiness. So you're chasing somebody, they don't want to be chased. You cannot chase them harder to make them happy and to be happy to be with you. Yeah. So you should not need that kind of validation from anywhere. You need to do it to yourself. You know, so you have to question why do I want to be in a relationship? What am I getting out of this? What am I putting into it? How is this overall benefiting my life? So if you don't have any relationship, if you don't care about your health, you don't care about your life, then why should anybody else? Like, they're just going to use it to suck whatever they can from you. They're going to use whatever they can if you're willing to give to somebody else. Yeah. So first give to yourself so that your glass is full. So
then you can be able to pour.
Then you can give to other people while maintaining your happiness, you know? Yeah. So first you gotta, if you have a paper cup, you need that full and pour into other paper cups. But you can't be waiting around like, are you gonna give me some water? Please. Yeah, I think that's not good.
I like the point that you just gave about how you grew up, or like your environment, if I could put it like that, like your background, like your relationship with yourself has a lot to do with your background. I mean, for our ages, I mean, we grow now, right? So, I mean, people our ages have traumas, you know. Maybe you experienced something when you were younger, and maybe you grew up and the family you grew up in was not a very loving family. They were not giving you much or showing you that, okay, hey, you are a good child, you are beautiful, or maybe you're handsome, and you are worth anything. Like, go out there, be yourself, or anything like that. So for that person, how do you think they could actually have a relationship with themselves? You know, how can they gain whatever they need to know that, hey, this is a good relationship with myself, and for me to meet you as Jenny, I can be a good friend to you because I have a good relationship with myself.
Yeah, so the way I like to think about it is your brain is kind of like a piece of Play-Doh.
There we go. And we're getting there.
So when you're a child, you're so open, like you're defining the world around you. actively always learning and making connections. So you have this default of your parents or your primary caregivers. Maybe it wasn't your parents, maybe it was grandma, grandpa, aunt, uncle, somebody else. They are forming in your brain what love is. So if you, in situations where you're not getting the love and attention, you're forming, you know, this is love. So if your parents criticize you all the time, you're not good enough, you need to do this better, you're forming, that's what love is. Love is, I have to work for that. I need to produce to be lovable, to earn love, which is not true. Think about a baby. A baby is born, you're like, this is the most beautiful thing. You don't have to do anything, you exist. That's it, that's enough. But something happens a long time where we're just like, you know what? I think you gotta work for it now. And it's a fallacy that I think most people go through is you start to feel, I need to work for love. So if you grew up in that situation, it's difficult, and you have to actively become aware. You have to know what is happening. That's a huge step in just knowing what's happening in your head, in your body, in your mind, like what is happening. Just knowing that and being aware of it, and just trying to catch moments of yourself telling you the lies. The things your parents tell you when you're a kid is the voice of how you feel about yourself when you're older. So if your parents say, you know, you didn't do this good enough when you're, you know, you're at work and you want to do like really good quality work, it's the voice in your head playing again. You're not doing enough. So it's the same voice. And one of the hard things about like trauma is like really big, right? And it really it's like it forms a groove, a pathway into your brain. You can't undo that. It's there. So the way to heal from that is you have to grow the other connections around it, if that makes sense. So it's like, let's say your dad came home and hit you every day. And it's really traumatic and awful, obviously. But while you're experiencing that, you also smell like your mom making potatoes. So when, as an adult, like all of those neurons wire together. There's a thing they say, neurons that fire together, wired together. So it's when you experience traumatic things in your childhood, when your brain is developing, all of those things are everything around the environment is being recorded in your head. So as an adult, you smell potatoes and suddenly you're angry and you don't really know why.
You're triggered.
So you're being pulled back there. And so I think this happens pretty often, but it's really difficult to catch that. Like, why you don't even notice that you're angry because you're smelling potatoes. You know, but it just happens and you don't really know. Suddenly I'm angry. I don't really know why. So it takes kind of walking back through the trauma. It takes knowing how trauma works. And then you have to build connections around it. So now maybe you become aware, oh, it's potatoes are setting me off. So now you have to start to like, well, I'm just gonna eat a potato, I'm gonna smell it, I'm gonna be around it, and just observe in my mind, in my body, what am I experiencing right now? And through that, and trying to catch good experiences with it. So from that, it's kind of like you're strengthening the connections around that one pathway that was formed, that was grooved. You have to form other ones around it to kind of, I had a friend that described it maybe as like a hiking trail. You have to let that old hiking trail that was trauma grow over, let the plants grow over and take it there. You can still always see evidence of it there, but you let the vegetation around it grow and you form new paths. So that's kind of what you do with your brain.
I'm going to need you to explain to us how is your relationship with yourself? How do you define it and how do you have it? Like just take us through this relationship, because some people might think that, oh, this is easy peasy. I mean, I know myself, I talk to myself nicely or anything like that. But in this form that we are talking about today, can you just explain to us, like take us through your relationship with yourself? So someone out there can learn
it's always evolving. That's the thing about any relationship. It's always changing, always growing, always evolving. So if you feel like we're stagnant, we're the same, that's a problem. You should not feel stagnant, really. But you're probably ignoring some areas. I guess if you're happy and like you're very content, truly happy, like you're a monk, then that's fine. But I think we end up in patterns that are self-destructive. So a very simple thing, we were talking about trauma.
Yes.
So very simple, very common trauma. Well, not simple. I tend to downplay it. So that's also a thing. Try to be aware of how do you talk about your traumas.
Wow.
Do you apologize a lot for the things you do? Do you minimize, which is what I do. I minimize. I always say like, oh, it wasn't a big deal. It's nothing. Everybody's gone through it. Someone had it worse. All of these things are minimizing. Wow. Yeah. I think the thing about someone's had it worse somehow invalidates your trauma. Okay. And it doesn't. Your trauma was real. So I think there's a big thing about just being aware of what's happened and calling it what it is can be very difficult. So what I'm saying is very common. I didn't know my dad growing up. Yeah. He just was like, deuces, left. Okay. And that's, while a lot of people experience that, and I'm not anywhere near alone, it is still traumatic. You know, you still have a parent, somebody who created you that left. Yes. And you know, they always say, you hear like the opposite of love is hate. Yeah. It's not. Actually, the opposite, because in hate, you still have to have an element of strong feelings, which kind of, it's like, you still have a bit of love in the hate. When you hate someone, there's some appreciation and love in there still. Yes. The opposite of love is indifference. The opposite of love is I'm not acknowledging your existence. You matter. You don't matter enough. Yeah. To even look at. Okay. Yeah. So. Okay. If you've gone through that, that's a trauma. So if you had a parent that left by choice, that's even you feel that as a being in the world.
So if I could just ask in that part, did you feel like you had to put your dad in that situation that you do not exist? And
that's an interesting point. Yeah. Like, did I do that? Yeah, I think I did do that. Really is. I never thought that it had any influence, and I didn't want it to have any influence. So it was just like, okay, cool, he's not here. No problem. Okay. You don't exist. No problem. You know? So I guess I did do that.
Okay. So you didn't reach out when you grew older, maybe, like, I want to...
No.
Okay. No. Find you. And
yeah, I think eventually I realized the impact, and he, I guess, has reached out through my mom since I've been in China. And I just feel like, no, like, why? I'm grown. I don't need you anymore. Okay. You know, so there's still a lot of pain and stuff around it. And also I question, like, because I think my mom had mentioned he was called at odd hours and his behavior was kind of weird. So that tells me it's probably drug related, that he's probably in some sort of addiction thing. And I don't want that in my life. You know, that's how I feel. But I also feel like there's some growth that could happen. Yeah. So. I'm not perfect. We're always on this continuing thing. Have things. Yeah, but so that's just an example of one of the traumas I've experienced. And so when you have a trauma, what often develops alongside of it is addiction behavior. Okay. So that could be addicted to food. It could be addicted to sex. It could be addiction to alcohol. It could be addiction to drugs. It could be addiction to, I don't know, anything like that.
So the addiction would be basically something that you really like, and you look at it as something that I just like this, but you're addicted. Do you realize that I'm addicted to this, or?
Yeah, I think at first people don't think they're addicted to things. But yeah, I think addiction is, you really like it, and ultimately self-destructive, right? It's hurting your life. It's something that causes you short-term pleasure, and it's very intense. like short-term pleasure. I want this. I want to feel good now.
Yeah.
But when you do that, overall, you feel really shitty about yourself, and and it could be harmful to your life, to your health. So yeah, it usually comes along with feelings of like shame and no control, like something has control over you. So those are kind of things that, yeah. So since being in China, like back home, I'm from California.
Yeah.
Weed is legal. I think realistically, I was smoking a lot of weed. Probably too much. Not getting enough done. Not not feeling things, right? Yeah. Like we said before, the example with you smelled potatoes, and suddenly you're angry.
Yes, you're angry.
Right? So sometimes maybe it's not anger, maybe it's I feel something. And I don't want to feel this. I want to avoid this feeling.
Yeah.
So I need this other thing, this other substance to make me feel good now, because I can't tolerate this moment of pain, of hard feelings that are coming up.
Yeah.
So that's coming to China. Weed is illegal. I can't do that. That was my big addiction.
Wow.
I think also sweets. I have a big sweet tooth. That's also my addiction. So coming to China, you get those areas that are cut off, and what happens when you cut off one addiction, another one pops up.
Wow.
So I think since being here, my big journey has been, how do I deal with these feelings? How do I be okay? How could I be on the path of health in my body and my mind, and heal these things, and that's what I think I want to take away from China, is knowing that I've conquered these things.
Okay.
Yeah.
You mentioned that when your dad was not there, you decided to put like maybe a hand, I'm just going to say a hand in it, like you do not exist or anything like that. Do you feel like that was you accepting that this is how it is and I'm going to live with it, or you were you're not dealing with it, you are just putting it there and like carrying on with your life kind of thing?
Yeah. I do think it was more of a like, I'm sweeping this under the rug, put this on hold. It's always it's existing there. But I'm not dealing with it. I'm not dealing with it. Yeah. Okay. That's definitely more of what that is. Yeah.
And how have you kept yourself from not having it maybe come back at you at times, or do you have it come back, and how do you deal when it comes back?
That's the fun part, is I think it comes back in various forms. It doesn't have to be through a parent. Like, it comes through, who are you attracted to? Oh. So that's a big one for me. I have you heard of like what is it, I can't remember the name of it. Attachment theory.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you had a parent that's avoidant, you become avoidant. If you were neglected as a child, you'll be avoidant. So I'm almost never in relationships. They freak me out. So it's like, why would I want a relationship? You're gonna leave me and hurt me. So
that makes sense.
Yeah, and I'm also, when we go back to that idea of your brain, it's like a clay and you're forming pathways. My father taught me, men show love by not paying attention to you. Men who love you don't show up for you. That's what I have in my programming. Yeah. So it takes a lot of me trying to just be aware, trying to be attracted to the people who want to be around me, because I'm always attracted to guys that are just cold and like, nah, that's attractive. Like, you don't like me, you must love me.
I see what you mean.
Yeah, it's twisted. So it comes back in that way. Recently, though, like very recently, I've been trying to ask myself, how am I neglecting myself? And that's been huge. Because I try to like, how am I neglecting myself? What do I need right now? Yeah. And so you try to be aware of like, what makes you feel loved? Do it for yourself.